Welcome to this practice as a part of our YouTube channel where we teach yoga, mindfulness, and neurobiological practices to help resource individuals and communities so that we can tend to what the needs are for the greater good at the mental, physiological, emotional, spiritual, and communal level. This particular practice is set up as a part of our yoga teacher training program. If yoga teacher training interests you, please do let us know. You can use the comments down below for that. But as this particular module, they're studying the 5 imperatives of the 5 warriors from the Bhagavad Gita. These are the 5 imperatives for life. And right now I'm speaking about them as the 5 imperatives for climate. If you'd like to see a Dharma talk about that, or rather listen to a Dharma talk about that, you can get that link right here. In this practice, I'm going to be using a couple of techniques in pranayama to help the students experience greater and greater stillness. Also, I hope the same for you. Some of these practices will include Ujjayi breathing. If you need to review your Ujjayi breathing, please look here. Also, a practice called exhale suspension or exhale pause, where we're resting in the exhale suction, but we're not going fully into an Uddiyana Bandha. We will also be practicing 3-part inhale with 1 long exhale. And then we'll take a look at anuloma, viloma, pranayama. So breathing in 1 nostril using Ujjayi, breathing out the other nostril. To close the practice, we'll be doing some chanting with the sounds of the chakras, 1st chakra and 2nd chakra in this practice. The next practice will be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th chakra, and that you can see here when you get ready for that one. It'll also be cued at the end of this video. Okay, let's get started. I'll see you in the practice. Namaste. Before we drop in, let me remind you to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button for videos that work for you. And along the way in the practice, think about your questions or how it's influencing you, and then leave me some questions and comments down below the video. Okay, now let's get into it. Okay, good morning. Welcome for practice. This is a specific pranayama practice we'll be doing for the 1st and 2nd imperatives for the warriors. There goes my Nakula warrior. This practice will be supporting that the sense at the 1st chakra for Sahadeva and the 1st imperative that our duty is really a sense of the welfare of the larger whole. We could think of it as the greater good. And the 2nd chakra, the 2nd warrior brother, Nakula, my cat is named after, really the duty there is to hone our senses so that we are not so subject to the swinging of this pendulum between craving and aversion. Craving and aversion are considered to be the hungry ghosts because the cravings are never met. And then you feel sort of haunted by the possibility that those cravings will be met, but it never happens. And then aversion being this sort of constant resistance to, you can think of it as the phrase, wanting and not wanting, the mind of wanting and not wanting. So we can cultivate a better quality inside. We don't have to be susceptible to that wanting and not wanting. We can come to a place of peace with that. So let's take a comfortable seat, please. You can rest your hands in your lap. You're welcome to close your eyes. Please sit upright without leaning back onto something unless that's necessary for physical or medical reasons. And allow your breathing and your mind to begin settling in. Now, as your breath settles in and brings you to the present moment, imagine the inhale beginning at the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor actually does expand a bit, And then the inhale, you can imagine widening up circumferentially through your torso. To the extent possible, breathe into the first, middle, and upper thirds of your torso. For the exhale, also begin at the pelvic floor and gently tone the pelvic floor as well as your deep inner abdomen. That tone is going to increase as you move towards the end of your exhale. Without any sense of straining, make the breath smooth and consistent. Now, as you're breathing up and down the central channel, which we think of as a plumb line in the center of the body, start to imagine that on the inhale, you create this kind of circumferential expansion as if there were ripples like circles on water. And on the exhale, you can imagine that you're brought back home from those ripples back into the center. I'm going to invite you to sense that on the inhale, your attention is able to include not only your deepest inner self, the abiding self, but also your wise self. And the awareness includes the mental body, the manomaya kosha, includes the energy body, the pranamaya kosha, and then includes the physical body, the anumaya kosha. And on the exhale, you're going to return back through those layers to that which is innermost. During the inhale, you could imagine a kind of phrase for yourself like, we are this inner abiding self. We are also this wise self. And we have these mental patterns. We have the energy body. We have a physical body. But as you're breathing in and sensing that, it's helpful to know that you are not your thoughts. You're not limited to your thoughts. Your thoughts don't define you. They don't summarize you. You are not the fluctuations of your nervous system. It does fluctuate. It does change. That doesn't define you. And you are not contained by your physical body, nor does that define you. But these things are your responsibility to cultivate the best possible, let's say, radiant presence through. On the exhale, you come through the journey of the physical body, energy body, mental body, wisdom body, and back home. But a sense respecting each of those layers, that your deepest focus or commitment as a yogi is going to be to that inner abiding self. So essentially, you can imagine that you're breathing inhale out through the koshas, exhale back home, also through the koshas. And you might start recognizing where you, let's say you get tripped up or things don't feel totally smooth or accessible. And if there is a kind of tripping up, it's probably the most pivotal at the manomaya kosha, at the mind. You may be able to sense that the manomaya kosha influences pranamaya kosha, that influences the anumaya kosha. And you might sense on the return journey, if you're preoccupied with the physical body, maybe you have some discomfort or something is less than wonderful. Or if you're preoccupied with the pranamaya kosha, or preoccupied with the manomaya kosha, the part of you that governs preoccupation is actually the mind. And staying preoccupied there will limit you from coming in to the vijnanamaya and the anandamaya kosha. Our task is really to know this inner abiding self and to not leave home. So we are urban yogis, we're householder yogis, so we have often the experience of leaving home. So we use practices like this as a homecoming, but ultimately our duty is not to leave home, even though we go about in the world with a mind, with an energy body, with a physical body. So please raise your hands to your heart. And we'll chant the prayer that I associate with the first chakra, Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Savidyang Karavati. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma viveshava. Om Sahana Sahana Punaktu Savidyang Karavati Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma viveshava. Om Sahana Sahana Punaktu Savidyang Karavati Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma viveshava. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. You may bow your head to your heart. Release your hand. Please open your eyes. So the layers of the koshas, we have anandamaya, vijnanamaya, manomaya, pranamaya, annamaya kosha. They exist at every layer of the chakra. You can think, oh, there's this chakra system. It's on this sort of vertical plumb line. And then you might think somehow the koshas are separate or that there's just like one massive layer of koshas. But if you associate the koshas at each chakra, one of the benefits of that is we can see where in that kosha system are we getting tripped up related to that chakra. So the first chakra is associated with Sahadeva, his recommendation to us, his duty, the imperative in us that belongs to that level is to care for the welfare of the greater good, to be attuned to the welfare of the ecology, the society, the creatures, the individuals known and unknown to us, to have that orientation in our hearts, in our deepest heart. That may seem like it would cause a lot of preoccupation about all the dilemmas in the larger world. That is a possibility that you'll feel those dilemmas, that susceptibility. However, the teachings are not meant to keep you there preoccupied. but rather to help us sense that we are a part of the larger whole. And insofar as we belong to that larger whole, we are influencing it in how we breathe, how we think, what our mood, how we relate to the things we acquire, how we relate to our responsibilities, how we relate to the privilege and the honor of being gifted with life. So we'll do a practice right now to help bring us that sense of interconnectedness, but without the preoccupation, hopefully without the preoccupation, the sense like it's so enormous I could never make a difference. That might be something that sabotages your ability to make a difference. So in this comfortable seat that you have right now, let me push my seat back. I'd like you to take your hands out over your knees and hook the hands on the knees so that they are firmly holding on. And then see if you can inhale and lift up through the whole spine. And then exhale, curl down using the entirety of your spine. Roll the tailbone forward towards your pubic bone. And then inhale, roll up. Tip the pubic bone down, move your tailbone back as the spine goes upward. And exhale, curl down. So bring your tailbone forward, the pubic bone snugs in towards the belly button. And do this several times now. Start to orient that the movement of the spine, this undulation, is relying on what happens at the pelvic floor. So your pelvis is the fulcrum for movement. The pelvic floor is also where both the inhale sensations and the exhale will begin. And by that, even though you're breathing with your diaphragm to inhale, the diaphragm draws down and there is pressure at the pelvic floor for the inhale. That's on purpose in the system of the body. Then on the exhale, as you tone the pelvic floor and the diaphragm moves back towards the mid-torso, the exhale is kind of chaperoned out. Let's do this one more time, breathing in towards cow pose in your seated position. And one more time, exhale the spine towards cat pose in your seated position. And then bring yourself to a simple and upright seat. Now we're going to do a practice to sort of blow off stress or residue, whatever we brought with us. So it's going to be 5 strong exhales, 1 long exhale. We'll inhale through the nose, and then we're going to exhale slowly. On those 5 strong exhales, what I want you to notice at the pelvic floor is that it should not feel like you're pushing down, 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 down with each exhale, but rather that the pelvic floor stays toned. You don't have to grip it. It shouldn't feel like you're bracing yourself, but it should stay toned. So it's 5 strong exhales, 1 long exhale. And during that long exhale, you might sense the pelvic floor getting more toned. But if you sense that on these exhales, the pelvic floor pushes down, down, down like that, then there's a problem in the system because the exhale should not cause downward pressure. Now, if you've ever had the experience of coughing and peeing, sneeze and pee, laugh and pee, that's because the pelvic floor didn't have enough tone for the cough. So don't clench or make rigid, but tone the pelvic floor. And let's do this together. Breathe in through both nostrils. You're going to hold the breath. So lift the chest, bring your chin down and in, snug the low belly in and up. The pelvic floor comes with that. And then those bandhas are released. For the exhale, please breathe out through your nose. And again, while keeping the pelvic floor just adequately toned. Breathe in through your nose. Release the bandhas in your own timing and exhale through your nose. We're going to repeat that. And on the inhale, when we breathe in through the nose, I'm going to ask you to remember to sense that your energetic field includes the koshas through all of the chakras, and the breath is rising up and should feel expansive. So when you get to this holding place with Jalandhara Bandha, it's like your heart is bright and courageous. So 5 strong exhales with the pelvic floor just adequately toned. Breathe in. Release in your own timing. And invite your mind to drop down to the pelvic floor. Right now, the breath might seem very imperceptible, even minimal. That's totally fine. In that case, the pelvic floor would also be relatively still. Placing something on the floor in front of you, or if you're using 2 chairs, sometimes people do that. They sit in one chair, the other chair is for the forward bend. We're going to be using the forward bend on the exhale to squeeze the breath out. At the bottom of the exhale, we're not going to be inhaling right away. So you're going to exhale, squeeze, and then relaxing those muscles that made the exhale. We won't be inhaling. This is the beginning of learning Uddiyana Bandha. In that relaxation of the exhale muscles, without any inhale coming in, there's going to be an internal vacuum. Let's get comfortable with that vacuum. You don't need to increase it. Just kind of hover there for a little bit. Then we'll inhale to rise back up. And on the inhale, I want you to sense again that you're expanding your sense of that spherical kosha embodiment that you are, but you're also coming up through this system of the chakras back up to your seat. So place your hands at the small of your back. Just hold the fingers lightly. This is not like a big yoga stretch. We're not going to be doing all of this right now. So rest your hands there. And let's inhale while upright or while returning to upright. And then exhale, bow forward slowly. So for the length of your exhale, you're going to squeeze the breath out at the bottom of the squeeze. Let's pause. Relax the exhale muscles. Rest in the suspension. Tone the lower belly and inhale to rise up in your own timing. And then you could exhale and relax. And when you feel ready to go for the next round, then we'll do the next one. We'll do this 5 times. When you come up through that inhale, I want to remind you that there's an inhale that includes the heart and the collarbones. So don't just think of the inhale in the low belly. It's going to include the whole torso and even up in here. Okay, let's go again when you're ready to. You always release the tone of that suspension in your own timing before you inhale to come up. And you may exhale and go directly to the next pose, next breath, the next forward bend, or you could pause at the top there and get a catch-up breath cycle. We'll do 5 altogether, whether yours are in sequence or a little bit pausing between them. It's important that you don't make yourself feel breathless along the way. You're likely to be completing relatively soon, so we'll just rest in silence to gather back together. And again, drop your mind down to the pelvic floor, and it's possible that the breath is going to be very shallow or imperceptible, minimal. We're going to be using the 3-part inhale. So I'd like to underline that the in-breath is going to start at the pelvic floor, and the inhale will initially cause the pelvic floor to expand. Then you're going to sense the low abdomen expanding, the mid ribs, the back ribs, and then into the heart and even the collarbones again. So this is a 3-part inhalation. That means we have the first third, we'll pause, middle third, pause, upper third, pause. And then we'll exhale smoothly without any pauses. To help yourself feel into this, I'm going to ask you to take the arms out to the side, palms turning out. And on the first third of the breath, the arms are going to move 1/3 of the way. On the middle third, and then the upper third. Okay, and what I'm going to ask you to sense for this morning is that as your arms are widening out, so too you can sense the koshas widening out. And you might start sensing this, we would call it in the Bhagavad Gita, this kingdom of which you are a part and for which you have a responsibility. So turn your palms face out and then begin with the first third of your inhale. Pause. And the middle third of your inhale. Pause again. And the upper third of your inhale. On the exhale, let's bring the hands down through the center line of the body. Even though the exhale is moving up and out, the hands are coming down and in. And then take the arms again out to the side. So that'll be our pattern. So let's do, of course, at our own pace, each of us. I always recommend that you count to 3 because it's easy to remember. But the speed with which you count is different person to person. So it's inhale 3, pause 3, inhale 3, pause 3, inhale 3, pause 3. Exhale for 9. You could exhale for 18, but don't make yourself breathless, please. Okay, arms out to the side. Let's begin. Don't cause any breathlessness for yourself, but also keep an even rhythm. Okay. You may begin being aware of craving or grasping, aversion or resistance. So remember, that's the second chakra. Keep things smooth and steady. When you complete your 5th one, Go ahead and rest your hands in your lap. You might have like memory of the last few minutes where you could have been susceptible to craving or aversion, over efforting, or getting breathless. Notice in the rearview mirror, how did you relax or like chaperone your experience away from craving, away from aversion, and towards the middle path, we could say. We'll do a practice where we're going to start with inhale through only one nostril. We will not be using an Ujjayi breath there. Then we'll exhale with both nostrils using the Ujjayi sound. We'll inhale through both nostrils using the Ujjayi. It's in the base of the throat. Then we'll exhale through the opposite nostril. It's called anuloma, viloma, pranayama. And it's a variation of combining Nadi Shodhana with Ujjayi. As we practice, I'm going to start asking you to really notice the pace and try to make it pretty equal. Inhale to exhale. So bring your right hand up and place your thumb to close the right nostril gently. You don't need a lot of pressure. And then inhale left nostril only, no Ujjayi. And exhale Ujjayi. No pressure on the nostrils. And then inhale Ujjayi. No pressure on the nostrils. Then we're going to exhale through the right nostril. And then continue at your own pace. So the next thing will be inhale right nostril, but no Ujjayi. If you haven't yet, start balancing your inhale and your exhale to be equal in length with each other. What you might be noticing is that when you inhale through just one nostril, no Ujjayi, the shape of the throat is regular. And when you go to Ujjayi, you're making the shape of the throat that supports the Ujjayi breath. And then you're releasing that to go again to one nostril. You can complete with your next exhale through the left nostril. And again, you can drop your mind down to the pelvic floor. Just the breath might be minimal. And there could be a sense of quiet or stability at the pelvic floor. Now we're going to use the chanting practice using the sounds, the Bij mantra sounds associated with the chakras. Okay, so the sound is going to be lam, L-A-M, for the first chakra. Place your hands like this and then out over your knees. With this chant, we're going to do it so we say lam, 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 lam. And I'm going to ask you to imagine that you're extending this kind of care for the welfare of everyone and everything outwards during these sounds. This is like a prayer. May everyone be safe. May everyone be kept free from unnecessary pain. May everyone be safe from unnecessary harm. May everyone and everything, so all the resources, all the creatures, may there be this sense of safety, and may they have the resources that they need. So that's a prayer we send out. So hands like this, and then you close the eyes. And breathing in a quiet Ujjayi breath. Lam, 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 lam. Lam, 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 lam. Lam, 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 lam. Lam, 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 lam. Now place the hands in this mudra at the second chakra. And here our prayer is that everyone have some tranquility, that they hone their senses away from craving and grasping and come into this felt sense of tranquility or contentment, recognizing the enoughness that we have here in the present moment. And the sound is Vam, V-A-M. Wam, 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 wam. Wam, 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 wam. Wam, 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 wam. When you're ready to, please return to the first chakra. Lam, 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 lam. 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 You can rest again in silence. And once again, you might find that the breath is minimal, but your body has enough resource. The mind can be quiet. Remain in a kind of ambient way aware of, may everyone be kept safe from unnecessary harm. May everyone be kept safe from unnecessary pain. May everyone and everything, everywhere, feel safe, grounded, resourced. Everywhere, I think, have a sense of fulfillment or contentment, enoughness. May everyone everywhere have access to the resources needed. May we respect the shared resources. May we see to the welfare of all beings and all creatures. May we be kept safe from unnecessary harm. May all beings everywhere recognize a kind of inner enoughness as a result of this deeper connection. And may we not veer into craving and aversion, but sense contentment or gratitude, appreciation. Please raise your hands to your heart. We know from the Dharma talk about the 5 imperatives. If you want to see that in this Dharma talk, we know that if we arrive then at the 3rd chakra, 1st and 2nd chakra having been well established, we will be less susceptible to the consumer culture, the merchant culture, and therefore less likely to be perpetuating some of the core issues with our climate. So this is a very important beginning, 1st and 2nd chakra here, and we'll continue with 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the next practice. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for this practice. As always, it's helpful if you leave your questions and comments down below the video and let us know what moves you in the practice, or what inspires you, or what you find difficult, if that's the case. As well, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That does help us to keep producing more content, and click like for any videos that work well for you, because it's good feedback for us. We are committed to producing content that helps the community at large to be more resourced for participating in the greater good, in the acts of service and support that are needed to make our societies more resilient and more effective, and that we in the global north, in this dominant culture of the global north, can have an awareness of our larger responsibilities to the whole, to the climate overall, affecting everyone and everything. We do discuss these topics in our yoga teacher training programs and in our Dharma study groups. You can check a Dharma group about the 5 imperatives here. If you're interested in yoga teacher training, please leave a comment down below. We do get those comments and we will respond to you. Or you can also check for teacher training here, and we look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy your day. Namaste.